your head in the sand and wait for your fucking prom.
And welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to The Silence of Narcissism.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming back, and thank you for listening to the show. I think we're up to 4 people now. Maybe 5.
Maybe 6.
And 3 of them are us.
Yeah, no big deal. I've only listened to a couple, I'll be honest.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we even got some ethnics in the fan base. We got a Filipino that listens to the show. Do you know that?
Really?
Yeah, I know.
Dang. I sent it to my mom.
Oh, what'd she say?
Well, she hasn't said anything yet, but like I said, I was going to call her and I talked to her, and turns out she is into conspiracy theories like I thought, because I remember back in the day, a long time ago, she had said something about, she was talking to my sister that there was people that, are part of secret societies and they're supposed to be in politics and they do hand signature signs and stuff like that. And I was like,
your mom?
I was like 9, right? 9, 10, or 11 or something like that, and I just remembered that, and because she said the signs, she said devil horns,
wow.
All that stuff, and then I started talking to her about some other stuff, and it was interesting.
Conspiracy gang signs.
Yep. All the different, the OK is actually supposed to be like the eye of Isis, or what is it?
Osiris.
Of Osiris,
Horus.
and then like the horse,
probably.
and then the devil horns are supposed to be something else like Baphomet and all
Providence?
that stuff.
Eye of Providence, maybe.
I don't know. No, it's definitely like one of those type
One
of
of the gods.
Egyptian.
It's the Eye of
Light.
The Eye of Horus is like the one that's
I know
on
there's
the,
Horus, Ra.
Yeah.
I have Ra.
Yeah, Ra's the sun god.
You'll see if you YouTube like Illuminati hand gestures, you'll see like Rihanna with one eye open with her the OK sign over top of it,
And like
and they'll
Beyonce
say
at the
horn
symbol.
Beyonce, all that stuff. Yep.
And then the devil horns.
The devil horns, the triangles, all that stuff. And it was interesting. It was cool to talk about that with her about it.
So basically,
she might be
metalheads
listening.
are all Illuminatis. Is that what?
Something like that. Some people believe that, but yeah. So it was cool talking to her about all that stuff.
I don't really understand what the Illuminati do anymore.
I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, it depends on who you go.
I mean,
to
what's
who
the
you're
difference
looking at and
between
who's
a
explaining it.
Freemason and an Illuminati?
Well,
They call
Freemasons
them-
seem to have like enlistments.
Yeah.
Like you can be a Freemason. I don't know anywhere you can't go to like a location and
have to
sign
be
up to
like-
be an Illuminati that I
I
know
mean,
of.
to be like, you still have to go through like initiation processes and stuff to be a Freemason.
Yeah.
And but like Illuminati, like you don't even hear about them. They're like,
that's what I'm
I think
saying.
Illuminati is more
they're
like a
so
collective.
underground, maybe.
I think it's like the collective of them all, because you have a lot of secret societies. Like some people believe that the Illuminati is like, if you think of the Bilderberg group,
collaboration of
it's the
all the
collaboration
secret
of all the
societies?
countries coming together. The Illuminati is like the illuminated ones.
Like, so there was like Skull and Bones
Yep.
and all these other
Freemasons.
ones, and then butthole surfers or whatever these secret societies are, and then somebody came
the
along and was
popes,
like,
the
why do we have
Vatican."
all these separate secret societies? We should just all be the same,
Well, I think they all work together
and then
to
take
hit
over the
different
world
angles.
and feed people poison.
But the Illuminati are like, they're the ones that are searching for the Holy Grail and the Ark of the Covenant and things like that.
Dude, they probably already have all that stuff.
Yeah, I think they
No.
probably do. At least from what I've read about like certain people's opinions of
Then
it.
where is it? That's what I'm saying. Like,
It's
nobody knows where
not-
any of this crap's
it's
at.
not of this
The
world
Catholic
anymore.
library and their
You
vaults.
know? It's in the Hollow Earth.
Ooh.
That's what Hitler was looking for.
Yeah.
When
They
Hitler
say
was
Hitler
doing all
found it.
that stuff, man, like
You know where
was
he was
searching
going?
for ancient artifacts.
going to Antarctica.
He was
He was
very
going to Antarctica.
Yeah. Oh, he was.
No.
To
And
go
apparently
to
he
the
did
center
go
of
to
the Earth.
Antarctica.
Oh,
I heard.
he was definitely there first.
Yeah.
Yeah, before
No shit.
and it was like in the 30s they were going down there before World War II even broke out. They were down there big time.
And he
Big
made,
time.
I think he was one of the people that made it the rule where, only that you had to be a certain not everybody could just go to Antarctica.
Oh no, that was after World War II. That was after World War II and after he had been down there 1st. And then
I read this theory
Other people
that he
started
escaped
it.
there in a submarine. And
yeah,
he
there's that
went
theory
to
too.
Apparently he went to the Atlantis or the center of the earth
Oh,
to live.
God.
I swear that's what I heard. I don't know. That's what I read.
Well, they say that the people in the center of the earth aren't they're like they're very peaceful. So I don't think they'd let Hitler down there. Like,
Yeah, but then again, you
well,
never
it
know.
depends on your
Like,
perception
it
of
could
Hitler.
It could be you never know. Like the center of the earth could be an entirely different frequency to when just living in that plane of reality there is no vibration of fear. There's no frequency. So you go there and there's no fear. And then because there's no fear, there's no vibrating frequency of fear anywhere. Then you have nothing to be angry about or upset or to worry about. Everything is gone. So like even Hitler being a horrible person here, supposedly, because God knows if he was doing all this stuff.
When he goes down there, does he become like that?
Then there would be, there'd be nothing. You would have no I mean, that's a theory, but like, if you think if there's different planes of reality, and if supposedly the center of the earth is supposed to be maybe a different plane of reality, then you'd go there. There would be a plane without fear. There's no vibration or frequency of fear there. It's just, maybe it's just a frequency of love. Yeah. And Hitler went there, just had orgies until he died.
Well, they say that like the like underneath the pyramids is the entrance, and that was what
to the center of the earth.
Yeah, Thoth.
Yeah.
He
Pyramid of Giza.
It was the pyramid, the Great Pyramid.
The Bosnian pyramids.
Well, I haven't read much about them.
Oh, that's one of the biggest ones there is out there, and a lot of people say it's not one because it's all covered in grass.
Yeah.
But they started digging it out, and they actually found like the edges of the pyramid that are definitely. I mean, someone made them, man-made, whatever.
Yeah, the base of these pyramids are so gigantic, like you could put, and so heavy, you could put anything under there.
Like the center of the earth.
Like they call it like the halls of Amenti or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's
Isn't
where,
that the way? That's the passageway to death or something like that.
No, that's where
the
like
halls of Amenti. What's that?
Okay, the halls of Amenti are where. Man, it's a long story. Like so that's where Thoth. That's where they go to be reincarnated.
Okay.
So what do they call them? Like they had like the mystery.
So they
school.
go there and they like take a number and then like they do a raffle system. Like you get to be a squirrel.
Like there's only they call them ascended masters. That's where the ascended masters are.
I want to go to the halls of Amenti.
Yeah, and if you get up, you can become an ascended master supposedly through following all of these things, and that's how you can remember your past lives and all that crap. So.
Dude, that's the thing that like if I die and I do move on to another plane or something else like that, and like after I leave this place, I mean, it would be nice to know that I'm getting reincarnated to something else, but I don't like the fact that if I do that, I would lose all the knowledge that I had gained in this life. Now, call me attached. And I know that maybe that the whole point of being able to move on is to be able to cut off all your attachments to this world, even what you know about it. But it's like, I feel like there's too many lessons that made me get to the point of being ascended, if I ever get there, that if I do ascend, like, then, like if I lose all that information, then what was the point?
Yeah, well, there's a theory that, like, we choose our lives, like we choose, like, this is the life that we want to live to teach us a certain lesson. Yeah. And then if you think about it, like, if you remembered all your past lives and all the people that you loved and cared about,
you wouldn't care in the next one.
The next one, it would just be like trying to find them people again.
I came up with this theory probably like 6 or 7 years ago that maybe like everything that we do in this life, everything we do, all of our actions, all of the decisions we make, all the things we learn, and the actions that we repeat into ourselves and ingrain into ourselves is what we write on our soul. Like our soul is a piece of paper. Yeah. And as we live through this life, we're writing things onto our soul to take with us when we move on. And like when you die, like maybe you just the only thing that happens is your consciousness actually just leaves the body. But like, and then like at that point, maybe you can do anything. You can do anything. Maybe you could come back alive on Earth if you wanted to. But the problem with that, though, is that if you died, you would be straight consciousness, pure non-physical form. And then what's going to happen is that you don't have your body affecting your pure consciousness anymore. And the body produces chemicals and emotions and addictions that make everything that we do on this planet important. Like, being here, feeling this table, eating food, that's all important because of my body. And then once you leave your body, you're not going to have all those emotions anymore. Emotions are gone. You would have no attachment, no physical. You would, even if you could come back, you would look at the world and there'd be nothing. There'd be no feeling towards it. You would just be.
I think
no reason.
that you would have I think feelings are part of your consciousness. you know, like love and all that. Like, so
I would like to think
like
that
they
too.
say that like people that have elevated into higher dimensions that don't have a bodily form, that are just light, like, I mean, they're around to help us and to guide us. So they obviously care about something, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I hope.
Well,
Me too, because
And
I'm
then
really
there's
hoping
and
that
then-
the frequency
yeah.
of love is the frequency we're supposed to go to. Like, that's my goal, that frequency of love.
well, I think that all plays into it. My idea of it is like you said, in a way, like you're writing something down. You're influencing where you're at. I kind of get my idea of like God and our consciousness from like a modern quantum theory type of thing, and my perception of what light is. You know, like what you said, it's a frequency of love, and what is it that you just said about I lost my train of thought. But the way I look at it is there's good and bad, right? And there's harmony or disharmony. I think I've talked about this before. And like if you think of it as light, like say that frequency of love, and then without the frequency of love, there's the frequency of fear, okay? When you hit those together, if you have more love but a little bit of fear, it kind of creates a different feeling. If you have more fear but then a little bit of love, it creates a completely different feeling. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Honestly,
when I see like light and dark hit, that's when those colors happen. So if you are all love and you don't have any fear whatsoever, you'll never know what it's like to not have love. So if you don't know what it's like to not have love, you'll never know
what it's like,
how good it is to have that much love.
Yeah, because there's no appreciation.
Yes,
There's no grounds
right.
for comparison.
So you could say it's perfect, but you being in all love, you'll never understand how perfect
maybe
that
that's
is.
why we have to earn it.
That's what I think
You
it is.
see
I
what I'm
think if
saying?
we're all
we
part
have
of
to live in this world of
Right.
that parallel.
Yeah.
So when we get there, it's
Right.
pure appreciation. There's
right,
no
but I
one
think
that, that's why we die
our
too.
consciousness and our existence is the opportunity for us as a consciousness that if we did not have our body, we wouldn't know what it's like to be either all good or all bad. Because only in this moment where we experience all these different inputs and have to wade through them to find what we like and what actually gives us some value. Without that conflict, you're never gonna know.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I've been saying
Never
it
gonna know.
I've been saying almost the same exact thing for years, but in a different way, just about living life. Because I've been saying that death adds value to life.
Yeah.
It adds appreciation, value, and validity to it. If nothing ever died, I don't think anything would ever get done. There'd be no rush. Mm-hmm. If we just existed and you could create, and then once you create it, it just lives forever. There was nothing
It would be
opposite to
boring.
create. It would be boring. You would live for billions of years,
Yeah.
and you would just
When I
sit
was
by
little,
a tree
yeah.
for 150,000 of them, and then you would just, like, there'd be no rush to build, create. Like, everybody's running around frantically. We got to get stuff done because it's a finite amount of time. Death adds that value to life.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing. Fear adds the fear. That negative frequency adds value to love.
Yeah.
I like that.
Like
That's nice.
like the Hopi Indians, back to them. They what they believe is that like we're here. The only reason that we're here on Earth is to take care of it.
Oh yeah.
We're here to take care of the Earth, and if we fail, then we don't
we're
elevate.
failing.
Yeah. At the moment, maybe. I don't think that but like they talk about, this is what they do. They're here to take care of it. That like without the Earth, we're nothing, and we're never gonna elevate anywhere if we don't pass that test.
We're like a kid with a goldfish. It's like if you want a dog, we gotta see if you could take care of that goldfish. Mm-hmm. And if that goldfish is belly up in a week or two, then you're not getting a dog for a while. You're gonna have to go through a few goldfish before we can, see if you deserve to get that frequency
Maybe a
of love dog.
hamster.
Maybe a hamster.
Well, that might be exactly what reincarnation is. You start off where you are that kid with the goldfish, then the next time around you're the kid with a gerbil, then the next time around you got
That's
the
what I
hamster. You
think.
get more and more on
you're-
your plate.
Or you
Unless
can
you
go
figure it
back.
out while you're in your
like,
life, you know what I mean?
If you just like if one lifetime you're not right, you're not all there,
Yeah.
and you fail kind of, then you maybe have to start over.
Yeah.
Or not start over, but maybe you have to redo. You have like a redo. Like a video game. You got like lives and
start over.
you
like
can win
Dark Souls.
lives.
Well, think about it. If we all end up coming into this, like the quantum theory says, where we have every option available to us, and And nothing we see is there until someone's there to observe it, which is our consciousness. And anything is possible. And if we're a part of that in another dimension, once we die, I think we're at that place where we are, or if while we're alive, I think if you come to the realization that you're a part of something within another dimension, what you build now brings forth something that other people experience, not you. You know what I mean? So like when you die, I think we're part of that consciousness again, and you can see, oh, these were all the possibilities you had and you didn't have. Well, what was it like to be this person? And as that being above us, you could say, I'll be that. You know, what is that like? And for us experiencing it, it kind of sucks because we're going minute by minute. But when you're outside of it, you can only understand when you're in it. So like, it's hard to explain because in my mind visually, it's so there. But I think we're all part of this consciousness.
Yeah. And
we're individual fingers and experiences. So like, yeah, we're going through things and everything, but if you just start to realize that you are you, your world is your perception. If you work on you, you're the goldfish and you could become that fish. And then you could be like, well, I want to know what it's like to be me doing this. And you'll have every belief in your mind to do it. You know what I mean? So if everybody did that, you wouldn't have to worry about reincarnation. You wouldn't have to worry about anything like that because it's more or less you can do it. And if you don't do it, I'll do it next time. You know, because I'm building towards a world that is what I would prefer more people to feel like. But it's all part of something. So even the most negative thing has to exist. And you can experience it later. And you might, you know. But that's if that's the world you leave behind. You know, like if you go through one life and you're just being a shitty person and you die or something, I think you might end up being, or you know what I mean, part of that the next time you reincarnate or something. I don't know.
Like,
I don't know, so I can't say.
I've always thought that, like, I don't think no matter what we do, I mean, I think I'm wording it wrong. I think that if physics and the things that we understand with science and physics, dimensions and alternate timelines and things like that are any form of validity,
right?
I think that no matter what, the life that we live is always going to be the right one.
Oh yeah.
So
there's no punishment.
Well, it's not even.
Like,
well, no, there
well,
is.
even
like
if it's
that.
the worst one,
Yeah, maybe not.
that
Maybe
life
you're right.
has to
Maybe there's
exist.
not.
You know what I mean?
But
even if it's the worst possible experience, someone within that mass consciousness that has even my best life and my worst life, they all exist.
Yeah.
But I'm conscious in this one.
Yeah.
You're
conscious.
Someone has to be conscious in the other one, but me, I'm not choosing to be conscious in that one yet.
I think it's all you.
You know what I'm saying?
I think it's all you. I think that.
Well,
I think it's the same consciousness spread out across all the choices that you've ever lived.
That's what I mean.
Like, you know, like you would look at like the timeline of life where you make all your decisions and everything forks off. I think that you have individually lived every single decision. Your consciousness isn't going to come together until the end when it's all done.
Right.
But no matter what, the life that you're going to go through, you're going to make it.
Right,
because
exactly
you've made
that.
every possible decision and choice, and the one that is going to be the one that makes it, that you probably are the most present in, is going to be the one that opens the door.
Yeah.
So I think that, and then in the end, you become well aware of everything. You just be like, oh, I know all of my timelines now.
Yeah.
It all comes back. All your consciousness that's spread out through all these timelines comes back into one, and then it's like
dot all over again.
Yeah. That's why I mean, like, I really
There's
like
Joe's dot
the
and
emerald,
all his possibilities invisible. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how I look at it now, dude.
Yeah, that's
like,
how I've looked at it
in
too.
the emerald tablets, I'm obsessed with. But like, you know, he talks about, you know, like there are certain things that we have to achieve in this life to be able to get to that point.
You said Thoth?
Yes. And you know,
Sephiroth?
so like there are like, you know, laws of the universe or whatever that we have to follow to get there. If we don't get there, then we have to start over, you know? And say that like you in your last life you were lacking one certain thing a lot. Then maybe your next life is gonna be teaching you the lesson of what you were lacking before, like appreciation. Or
Yeah, because I think it would suck for people who's lived all the timelines that they've gone through and they still didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe there's people who just make it in almost all their timelines, no matter what. And maybe those are the people that die really young. Mm-hmm. Maybe those are the people that go really quick.
Like, oh, I made it. Done.
You know,
Peace.
There's no, you know, it's a possibility. But it's like, you know, there's obviously probably people who's lived every possible decision, and no matter what their decisions were, they just never figured it out. And then they are the ones that have to get a new body and start over again.
Well, I think that, like, when these people become, like, ascended, like, their mission is to get other people to be. Because I think that maybe when everyone is, like, the collective consciousness is what the goal is, you know, and when that happens, something amazing might happen. I don't know, you know?
I look at it another way, too. Like, we have this idea of the afterlife and what it'll be like for me after, but at the same time we're leaving the real world behind. Like, I look at what I'm trying to build forward toward my afterlife. At the same time, I'm thinking, what if I do kind of believe this, like, my consciousness is also the same part of the same thing that Joe's is, or my sons are. So if my sons are in direct influence of my consciousness, and my daughter and my wife, I could leave this world with 3 of like-mind consciousnesses, like my mind, and they start the world 3 times over with the mindset I left it at, and then they do that, and they do that. All of a sudden, this afterlife consciousness that I'm trying to be of, that is this positivity, is becoming reality in life, because, one, getting into that mode where you are going to end up in the afterlife, to which you've done the things, you know, like in the Emerald Tablets and most other religions that share along with that, with being that good person, building your temple, you know, building the temple to create Christianity, changed from building that temple in the desert with the pillar of fire at night and the smoke by day. It turned into being an internal temple where you build your own temple. So what that means to me, outside of, you know, all religion, is I got to build me, and then help my kids get to where I'm at before I'm dead, and then they start off way ahead of me, and then all of a sudden they have a family and they build up and stay together with the same qualities, because we all through life, I go back to a lot of Christianity because I grew up that way and I kind of went away from it, but all the different scriptures that now relate to what I believe in terms of life come back to where it says, raise a child as you would want him to, and he'll never turn away from it. And if it's the truth, he'll never turn away from it. So all these things that I remember are things that I still agree with within religion. And people can be totally against religion, but there'll still be certain sentences that you can agree with. And I think that's the sign of an intelligent person to be able to say, not saying I'm intelligent,
open-minded
but
person.
open-minded to say, you know what, if I raise my kids right, and that says that in the Bible, outside of whatever else, I can gain that from it. I could leave this world getting closer to that frequency of love than fear, or having more influences to push it that way. And then the consciousness in life, and because this life, we look at it as an infinite, but we are leaving life as we die. So yeah, I might go to the afterlife that's outside of that, but that infinite is going to keep going. You know what I mean? Even if I'm a being that understands infinity, infinity is still never ending. So even being an infinite being, you're still have to realize what it's like to experience those. So like my son is a new aspect of that infinity. For me, if I get to the afterlife to experience that, then all of a sudden those are there. I could come back and say, oh, I'm going to try that one out.
So maybe
these guys had more kids.
They're
going to try that out.
Eternal life.
Either that or
yes,
like
that's what I think. Something similar to that.
No, maybe our children are our reincarnations. Like, you know, that's what our purpose is to, you know, reproduce and to bring children into this world, and that's it. I mean, that's like a primal instinct. Mm-hmm. You know, everything reproduces.
Well, it's the creation aspect of God.
I worry that maybe life is just our ascended master's form version of a video game.
A joke, yeah.
Like we just come here because we're eternal and we're bored.
That is a scientific theory.
And
though.
I swear to God, if that's the case, I fucking hate myself. I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna be like, why do I keep playing this game? I'm gonna play again.
It's like
you played video games competitively, so your person
and all the
that
people that
controls
are all
you
the
knows
Illuminati,
you can handle hard mode, Joe.
The Illuminati and all those people, those are the ones that are the hackers.
Yeah,
the ones that are taking over the world and poisoning.
The
They're trying to
bodies.
stop everyone else. They're like they've hacked the game and they're using cheat codes.
Yeah, the
they could be.
Anunnaki.
Honestly, that's not
all
a bad way to
all
look at
cheat
it, right?
codes, and it's like,
well, you keep it hidden. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they don't know where
Like
this
we're
secret
just
spot
a project, you know, and that like with the Anunnaki and that's what they say, like that we're pretty much, you know, we were only made to do their work.
if
And
that's the
crazy
case,
to
once
me.
I'm done with this game, I'm making a new one.
And that's what they
I
say.
can make my
like,
own
that's
game.
another cool thing about like the reproduction thing is that supposedly in like the Sumerian tablets or whatever, like when Eve, the first two people, ate from that fruit, what it did was gave her the knowledge to reproduce.
No.
So
That
right
ended up being
and
the
that,
curse.
yeah,
actually.
and that
at least in the Bible, I should say.
it was, but it's not a curse,
Right.
it was giving us an ego, our a self, our self being,
whatever it is.
and being able to have our own children and I think that's awesome. I think that'd be, it makes sense. I don't know.
Well, I think that's that part of that where it's like, okay, if you want to know how good it is, the knowledge of good and evil, if you want to know that it's good, you have to know that it can be bad and it can be real bad. So that eating the apple was more of like it was that metaphor saying you have it good.
They didn't,
don't
though.
fully understand. No, well, they did.
Not in Anunnaki, not in the Sumerian.
Well, okay, I'm
they
saying
were
like
slaves. Like,
oh well, yeah.
They
Well,
weren't just living in a garden
if
of
you
loveliness.
believe, if you believe like Adam and Eve and stuff like that,
That's
you
the
could look
Christian
at
view.
right.
They're still Adam.
So the
they're still
Anunnaki
Adam and
was
Eve.
Adam and Eve in it.
It's
I'll have to look.
There are
that
little
one up.
different names, and then Eden
remember.
is spelled Edin.
It's the
Or
same
no,
way in the Sumerian
period,
text, right?
E.Din.
It's the same way in the
It's in
Sumerian
the-
text, right? We were made as slaves.
Yes.
They
And
they
then,
bred us with monkeys.
well, no, they used they
See, I wonder if
used-
sometimes that's just another method of old time control.
wasn't
you know what I
even-
mean?
yeah,
like if you
and
convince
that's not-
someone that you convince them they're less of a person.
Yeah, I don't think that they used. They say like the Neanderthal people. They were gonna eventually evolve, But they used a little bit of their genes and then a
that's
little bit
right.
of these genes, and then put them into a female Anunnaki, and then she gave birth to the first one, and then there was only a certain
That's
amount
where they made
of them.
made
they,
us in that story,
they
right?
like they
And it wasn't monkeys. She was
genetically.
right. It was a Neanderthal, or whatever we refer to as Bigfoot.
I mean,
you
it
know?
could have been a human, just a human that didn't know very much, you
Right.
know.
Less
and they just
intelligent.
looked at him like, "Hey, this is just a monkey."
It's like a shell.
Yeah, like an
Well,
animal.
because
This
they
is an
created
animal.
us to look
Yeah.
more like them a little bit too, because they mixed us with their DNA, and then they started reproducing with
Kind
us,
of like that Prometheus.
and that caused a whole bunch of problems.
I love
that
that movie.
Prometheus,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, great movie. But yeah, like I mean, there's the human experiment theory. I don't like to think of it like that, but you never know.
Well,
you
most
know?
religions,
It
their
could
creation
be.
stories are human experiments.
Yeah, they're and a lot of them are
really-
all the exact same
Even
story.
God, I mean,
Right.
seriously, it was an
The
experiment.
Christian God, all of them.
Almost all the origin stories, if you read into them, were all just like some plaything or toy or something that was created, and
Oh yeah.
we were just given options to go around and we were given a sandbox to play in, and it's like go build sandcastles,
Right.
and if you're good, you could come in the house.
Yeah,
That's kind of
it's a weird one.
Did you know that in the Bible it says, you were talking about it a little bit on this earlier. I was going to say something, but you moved on. But it does say in the Bible, when you were talking about how we live or whatever, and our mindset and the information we learn and giving it to our children and stuff like that. But the Bible actually talks about, it's been so many years since I thought about this, but there's something in it about knowing and taking in too much information. It basically it says
I don't remember the scripture. but I think-
there's something in the Bible. If I wish I could remember, it's been years since I wrote this down, but
Did it have to do
talks
with
about
the food for
no-
the child or food for the man or something like that?
I can't remember,
Okay,
but
sorry.
I had it in a notebook that when I was actually going to your guys' your dad's church, and I used to keep a notebook where I used to write all this stuff down, and then I would argue with your dad about it. And then one of the things that I had in there was about, it was talking about knowing too much information.
Yeah.
Basically, to sum it up from what I understood from when I was reading and I was writing down, it was basically just a summary that just said, too much information is gonna
ignorance is bliss.
Is gonna stray you from the truth, and to just not worry about it and live your life. It's basically what it just sums up. It's like, dude, just quit absorbing so much. Because, I mean, if you think about it. Overthinking is, and like, that's been, before I thought that was like, oh, that's just more Christian brainwash. Don't research
Don't use
anything.
your brain. Don't lean on your own understanding.
So you could be a lemming like everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's like, but now that I'm, been going on my spiritual journeys and I've been learning a lot more, I've been noticing that everything that takes me away from my spiritual journey is thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking literally takes me away from the moment, takes me out of my place where I'm at, takes me out of my zen. Yep. It takes me away from feeling spiritual. Every time I overthink, I can't accomplish tasks better.
Yeah.
And if you ask somebody who's a gymnast or somebody that's trained in anything that's physically demanding and very complicated, and you be like, what are you thinking when you're doing that? They're like, I don't waste time thinking.
Nope.
There is no thinking going on. I am
time for that.
I'm in the moment. There's no time for thinking.
Right.
You just do. And I think that that's the key to being spiritual and performing and doing everything. It's just focusing, clearing your head. And that's all meditation, clearing your head, erasing everything, and just being there and present. And anytime I've done anything spiritual, that's what's got me there, is taking away all this stuff that I think about. Like, my brain is like, I always look at my brain like it's a computer. In my brain, I open it up and I look at the task manager in my head, and I'm like, look at all these programs I got running. I'm worried about work. Oh, I got to go to this and I got to do that. I got this song running in the back of my head. I keep trying to close that app, but it opens it back up like a virus. And it's like, it's like I just got to close. All those things that are running in my brain are not important. Be here. And then that's whenever I've excelled in any way. So it's like, I think that's kind of interesting. So I think there's like truths in all this stuff, here and there.
I think that's why we have to, like, and you saying that brought up the lean not on your own understanding, because like with all that information that you take in, whether you're, that's how you get crazy conspiracy theorists, like where they start believing everything they see because they lean on their own understanding, like, oh, that makes sense to me.
So
that's
limited.
The truth. Let me keep looking this stuff up, blah, blah, blah. And then if there's too much and you have that mindset, you're going to start thinking all this stuff is wrong. All this stuff is against you. And then all this information became a negative influence on your life. And it's like, you really got to reel that
everything
in.
adds, see, that's why when I I have theories and stuff like that, I say constantly, like, my favorite thing to say is it just makes sense to me. I'm not going to say anything's true. Right. I'll look at everything and I'll associate it and be like, well, it makes this they're doing this, they're doing
sense.
that, they're poisoning the food. It would plausible. If I was them, I would do that. Right. And if I was them, I would do this as well. And you know what? I hate to say it, but it makes sense. I'm not going to be like, oh, it's definitely. I've never seen any of it or the facts, and not with my own eyes, or I've never. But it's totally true. No, it's dumb. I'll say stuff makes sense. Yeah. Like, it makes sense, but that's as far as I usually try to go. Like, when I was first getting into the flat Earth thing, I was listening to what they were saying,
right?
And I'm like, dang, this makes sense.
This is interesting. Yeah.
This is neat, and like the points they're pointing out kind of make sense. Yeah. But since then, I've done a lot more research, and me and you've had a lot of discussions about the flat Earth thing, and we've yet to talk about that on the podcast. We should probably go into that a little bit, since I kind of brought it up.
Yeah,
and
we can do that.
Give people a little bit of a rundown on the whole flat Earth conspiracy. But
like we say, don't believe everything we're saying. A lot of this stuff is just information we found that you should look up if you're interested.
There's a quote from Buddha. It says, "Don't believe anything you hear, even if you hear it from yourself."
Yeah,
like,
it's the truth.
I like that.
Or
that is kind of cool. But
the flat Earth.
I guess, but since then, the flat Earth thing, I've gotten a lot newer information, and I've looked at it a lot differently. So, I'm not going to say it's not true. I'm not going to say that it is true. I have my own theories on it that make sense.
The thing is, with like the flat Earth, you have to take on other assumptions that most people aren't willing to yet. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's hard to get people to that moment of understanding. Like, one of the reasons I feel like it's most plausible, not most plausible, or is a plausible possibility, is that we already say that the government has done so much other things. And if you really look into the monetary system and who runs the money, the Federal Reserve, everything that everybody's already against, like the Rockefellers and all that throughout our history, if you really look at where they put their money, you'll realize that all these big companies that are big now that own all this stuff also own almost every college or have funded it and have majority of the board of directors and all the people who make all curriculum. And it sounds crazy, but if you really look it up, look at every college, every major college, that someone on the board of directors has some tie to these people in these banks. Mm-hmm. And that is just knowledge that you could go look up. And if you can accept that, you can already say, okay, maybe they had some influence on what we're taught. And if you can accept that, you can kind of say, okay, well, maybe they aren't telling us everything we need to know.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, I'm saying someone who is already like maybe looks at certain things like the Federal Reserve as being wrong or taxation being theft, all these more common conspiracy theories that are now true, 9/11 being possibility, something we don't know about it. I mean, the 28 pages from the 9/11 Commission report is a big hot topic right now in politics. Why? Well, because the majority of the United States feels that something that we're being told from the government is not true. So we're already past that. Most people don't believe the government tells us is true. We're already past that. We know the Federal Reserve is under control, and now we know that the people who run the Federal Reserve and these central banks also run our schools and colleges and how we're educated.
Yeah, they're teaching our children whatever they want.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So consider that when you consider why we think that this could be plausible. It's only because we also believe that there's a possibility that there is ulterior motive in what we're taught in our schools from the same people that are screwing up everything else that we already
without even hearing any of that information.
Right.
Without even hearing anything that you said. Because I wasn't aware of any of that.
Right.
That these colleges are all being funded. And
when they were started and everything.
I mean, obviously, if I never considered it, never thought about it. Was never thought in my head that these colleges have
the
backing
Rockefeller Foundation,
people, like rich people backing it or people funding it. It makes sense, obviously. I mean, it's not a fact that I'd considered, but without even knowing that information, I'd already taken into account the fact that we update our educational books every year.
Yeah.
Sometimes by semesters, and they tweak them. They've been tweaking them for 30, 40, 50 years, like one word at a time. Yeah. And it's like, if you go back to books that are 50 years ago and read what's in there, like the information is so much more like
there were no
easy to read.
Like dinosaurs came from lizards. Is what I learned, And there was 9 planets back when I went to school.
Yeah.
And we wrote in cursive. Mm-hmm. Now it's like...
No, yeah,
everything's different.
And it's like if you tweak your educational books, if you have somebody with an agenda, and you don't just want to take a book that says, "Hey, the Earth is a round place and we live on it, and or the Earth is okay. We'll say that the Earth was flat. The Earth is a flat plane, and then God gave it, and then Aurelian, and then the Anunnaki, whatever. And then you just slowly just want to be like, no, we want people to believe the Earth is round or flat or something opposite to what it is. You don't just change the whole thing one day. You just one word at a time, just slowly over a period of 30 years, alter a sentence of a concept, and then suddenly it becomes a new concept. Right. And suddenly people understand things differently as opposed to just, than they did when it first came out.
Google Galileo real quick and see when he was. Because that is when Galileo, and around that time, is when they said that the Earth was round. And that was before we had satellites up there. So this was a belief that was already instated into learning about our world before we were able to have all these pictures and videos allegedly from space.
Like Columbus had something to do with it too.
And that would be 1492, and the Pythagoras was old Greek or Roman.
Yeah, that's why Columbus set off to set the world was round, so he figured he would go right back to Asia.
He would be able to find a faster route to India.
And so they said it was. or allegedly, whatever. So you're talking 500 years ago, before we were able to be in space, it was already widely accepted that it was round. Why? I don't know, but there's a lot of different reasons for it. If you like we were just talking about the religions.
Yeah, we didn't even really have any way to prove it at that point.
Right.
Except
So
for the fact
it was
that,
something
well,
that we
we
already
went
believed.
west and we hit more land. It's round.
Yeah.
It's like that was kind of the
But
summary
I
of
mean,
how they got
now
their
with
decisions.
all the technology we have now, and I mean, it just, to me personally, I feel, I'm a little leery about it.
No,
but I'm looking at this
so is
Galileo,
the rest of the world.
I'm still very leery.
and
about
I want to read this. Okay, it says, the sun, with all the planets revolving around it and depend on it, can still ripen a bunch of grapes as if nothing else in the universe as if it had nothing else in the universe to do. In question of science, the authority of 1,000 is not worth the humble reasoning of a single individual. Measure what is measurable and make measurable what is not so. The truths are easy to understand once they are discovered. The point is to discover them.
Right. And we don't get to discover anything anymore. We're told what is true. All right. And we're given these things like Carl Sagan with the folded piece of paper with the pillar on it. You can have two explanations of that. You can have a sun that's closer that causes that. You can have, the shadows that are different that makes it look like we're on a sphere. But if the sun was closer, and there's no way we could prove it, it would do the same thing. So all these experiments that people say are representative of a spherical Earth, unless you are up in space and looking at the Earth, you're not going to know that it's either way.
Well, let's give everybody listening a kind of a format on what we're talking about. So there's a lot of, because we're kind of just
There's
discussing.
a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and we're just kind of moving into all these far gone
ADD
past
mode.
understandings of what we think about in the flat Earth, and we're not giving anybody any kind of foundation to absorb what we're saying. So basically, there's theorists out there that are saying that the Earth is flat, and for years,
a lot more than have ever been before.
A lot more recently,
yeah. And apparently, me for years, I've seen things here and there, and I was convinced it was either a 4chan troll or I thought it was a bunch of guys and some science Facebook page. Like
That's
a
what I
bunch
thought
of the
for the longest
elitist
time.
science group douchebags who, that whole believe what we say and don't critical think mentality, the new religion of science, going out there trying to troll idiots is what I thought they were doing. Like, I bet you we can convince dumb people that the Earth is flat. And still could be, who knows? But that was what my initial knee-jerk reaction to it was, which is why I avoided it like the plague. I was like, it just rolled my eyes. And then you came along.
Don't put this on me.
And then you sent me a flat Earth video.
Yeah.
And I still even rolled my eyes. And I was like, oh, God. And, I respect you. I think you're a very intelligent guy. I think you, whether you are or not, I don't know, but you seem like it. And, I like your opinions. I like what you think. You critical think. You're objective. So I was like, you know what? I respect Christian. I'm going to listen to it. And I watched it and I was like, oh, man, this isn't as stupid as I thought. People are actually showing a lot of visual evidence that the Earth might not have a curve or as much of a curve as we initially thought. And so going through all these videos, and apparently this has been going on for years too. They
have maps and
maps. The maps alone. But apparently there's been respectable people in science communities that have done tests like within the past 100 years that have been trying to say that no, there's a lot of evidence to say that the Earth is flat. And this is that blew my mind alone that it's recent.
It's hard to picture, but when you actually see it and how they have it mapped out with the way that the sun and the moon are revolving, it does make sense in a way to me, I guess. But then it doesn't explain a lot of things, like eclipses and
southern constellations. It doesn't to me yet, but it does with my own theory, personal theory, if it is a possibility. But their version of it doesn't explain it. But the weird thing is that apparently, supposedly, we found the Earth. The government established that the Earth was actually flat. Definitely in 1940.
Yeah, we've only believed it's been
what was it,
around
Andrew?
for
what's his name? Andrew, the guy who went
Kepler?
to the Kepler, the center of the Earth guy.
Oh, I don't know his name. I don't remember.
The guy,
The writer?
Andrew. You showed me him. The guy who went to the center of the Earth.
I don't remember his name though.
Oh, went to Antarctica?
Yeah, went to Antarctica.
He was
Andrew,
like on a
Last
plane.
name. Yeah. The
Captain Andrew.
we did talk
he
about
was
that
like
guy.
in the Air Force or something.
yeah.
But apparently it's supposedly this guy who went to the center of the Earth and found out that the center of the Earth is flat, or the center of the Earth is a thing and it's there. And then like right around that same time, the United Nations changed.
Do you mean the South Pole Center?
South Pole? Yeah.
Is that where he was going down to Antarctica?
He
Is
went
that the
to
guy you're talking
both.
about? Oh, he went to both poles?
I think he entered in the North Pole, and then the second trip he had, he tried to go to the South Pole, but didn't succeed.
Oh, okay.
But he said that they like welcomed him in, and that they have like the inside of our Earth is like their sky.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's really cool looking. If you look at some pictures on it, we'll have to post some.
But right around that same time, when Andrew Bird.
Andrew
Yeah,
Bird.
that sounds right.
Andrew Bird.
What I remember hearing.
It was Andrew Bird, and so right around that same time, after all this happened, the United Nations had their little leaf logo with all the continents
flat
on
Earth
it.
looking thing.
They changed it from a global map to a flat Earth
Was
map.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
So if you look at the United Nations logo, it's now a flat
I
Earth
thought they
map.
started with that, but I don't remember that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Nope. The United
Dang.
Nations changed the global on their little logo. They had
To the
a
flat
globe
Earth looking disc thing.
with all the continents on it. Now it's a flat Earth continent. And
But
it
why is
maps-
everything else round?
What do you mean?
Like, why are all the other
Visually.
planets? No, they are.
We don't
Visually,
you're-
yeah.
If you're taking, here's another thing. It's one of the assumptions you have to take with it that if we are being lied about the Earth being a sphere, you have to obviously assume that we're being lied about all the other ones as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like, but maybe it's just we can't. We don't see like we only can see what so many dimensions, right? Like our eyesight.
Mm-hmm.
So we see everything. It looks flat.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But if we could see with those higher, what are they called?
More dimensions, spatial dimensions.
Spatial dimensions. Then maybe we could see the curvatures of things.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But our eyes are like shit.
Yeah.
But do you think that's what our science is telling us, is that because we're not, it is flat, but because we're not seeing with a higher dimension, it's
they're
round?
not
or-
saying shit
Well,
like that.
we're in a plane of reality where it's like we understand 3 spatial dimensions, right?
Right.
That's all we can see. I mean, if you were a person in a third dimension reality, and then I had a piece of paper that had a 2-dimensional reality living on top of it,
Yeah. It
They
could
would
curve,
not-
but
they-
you still wouldn't even know it'd be curving.
they wouldn't understand anything that I'm trying to explain to them about there being a third dimension, and that's the same thing.
Right.
Now, I also think that the whole center of the Earth thing, like my personal theory is that, well, I don't want to actually, you know what? I don't even know if I want to delve into that, because my theory about life and everything being a bubble of conscious reality
Yeah.
is
It could.
basically,
yeah.
it to me, it
There's a lot
explains it.
I liked the way that guy put it, like a book.
Yeah.
You know, like our universe is just a page in a book, a closed book
Yeah.
that is surrounded by thousands of other ones that can, like wormholes can take you through them.
And if you can break the page and go to another
and
one, you're in a
that
different
man,
plane
yeah,
of reality.
he was actually a scientist at CERN, the place that does the
Large
high
Hadron
impact,
Collider?
yeah, quantum physics, quantum
that stuff.
physicist.
The portal to hell?
Something
I saw
like
it on
Yeah.
a YouTube video.
Yeah, it was kind of neat. But so the flat Earth, Andrew
Yeah.
Bird went to that's
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 another
my
weird
tie-in
aspect
for
of-
the center of the Earth thing with the Andrew Bird and the flat Earth, because right around all that time, and then all
Well,
this stuff
that's
started
another weird
happening.
aspect of it. If we are on a sphere, that's cool. But look up why we can't go to Antarctica. You know what I mean? Like,
Why
why
we
can
can't?
only certain
Just-
researchers go?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Like,
pretty
why can't
weird,
I
too.
go get on a plane with a couple buddies? We're rich. We just want to go to Antarctica.
Look up
if
the
we
YouTube
die,
video.
whatever.
Well,
you know what I mean?
You can
200
only-
facts about the flat Earth. So if you just want to just get a vague understanding of what we're talking about, just to tackle it with your own head, go just search 200 things that say the world is flat, or 200 facts that prove the world is flat. Something like that.
And
Just give that video a watch.
They
and it'll give
even
you
have
basic.
a marker for the South Pole, but it's really
It's
not.
off, yeah.
It's not even. It's like 20 miles off or something, because they don't. I don't know. I mean, and
Well, it's
that
the same thing at the
kind
North
of blew
Pole.
my mind. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, anytime you go, even on an expedition or something, you're never going to be able to get to the point on
even
where the compass is like you can walk around a point. You never see a video of that where there's someone with holding a compass. I'm right at the North Pole. I'm walking right around it. You should be able to have that.
That would be neat.
Or at
Somebody
least
would have done that
in
by
an
now,
airplane going around a certain point. If it's like 50 miles, small circle, wherever.
Yeah. Well, the only problem is that when you get to that point, though, the compass is going to point straight down, not towards,
Right. Well, it's going to flip or something.
You would
do something weird.
You would need one of those compasses that are floating balls. They kind of float inside of like a glass. Have you ever seen those? It's like a 3-dimensional compass. A lot of people use them on their dashboards in their car, and it's just like a little plastic glass with another
like hovering in there with a magnet,
and it's floating in there with a magnet inside a little thing of water, and it just floats around. But you would need something like that, because the problem is if you went to the North Pole, the compass wouldn't be pointing like towards dead air. It would be pointing towards the center, because that's how the magnetic pole works. It goes
it's pulling
around and then pulling in.
But
so
if it goes around, then it would be going in a circle. Yeah,
but he's right. It would need to be like a 50-mile thing.
Well, that's part of what I think is up with
like a Taurus.
But even when Prince, I think it was Henry, or he did an expedition to Antarctica, and he wasn't even able to go to the South Pole marker that you were talking about. Well, he couldn't even go. He's a fucking prince, and he took an expedition down there and like just to do it, and he didn't get to that point. I was
watching something recently about even today. When they're doing research in Antarctica, they can only be there for so long before their body will start to shut down. Because just certain parts because of the cold and
in Antarctica?
They can and there's certain periods where nobody can come get them, so they can only survive there to do the research for like a year.
Well, you'd think it would be really hard to live at a point like that anyway, because you got to realize
what does that say about people in Siberia and Alaska, the Inuits who all live?
If you lived there, just like in like the Himalayas, like they live at these high elevations and they can climb Mount Everest like it's nothing. Yeah. We can't. So if somebody
we could.
They have like a special, they evolved into that from generation to generation.
Well, you think that being at a pole point too, as well, it would have to have some kind of effect on you, because the density of the magnetic field is going to be so tight. Because instead of it being spread out across the entire atmosphere, it all comes together in one tight point where it pulls back in. And you think that density of an electromagnetic field walking through it would have some kind of repercussions on you, or
I thought that same Andrew guy that flew down there said that there was a ton of land. He said there in the one video I've seen, it's black and white, and it's from like it's got to be from the 40s or 50s.
That wasn't Andrew Bird, but that was another guy.
That was the explorer guy. That was the first guy down there.
Andrew Bird. You're right.
He was the one whose father died, and he somehow got down there. He fell in a pit. Interview.
Yeah, he's doing, and it's black and white. It's old. It's real old. And he's saying how he said there's plenty of coal, places for coal. There's plenty of, he thinks there's uranium. He thinks it's full of all these different resources.
But he does say
and he was like
happy
about it being there. I don't know.
He did say that. I remember.
I knew he said it was cold.
I rewatched the video a second time to see that. And
but from what it sounded like, they said, like, and even some of the pictures, if you look at some of the pictures, there's green grass in some of the pictures from Antarctica. And it's not around the ocean.
Seasons. I mean, it's a big continent. Have you ever seen the pyramids?
Oh, yeah.
That shit.
Oh, in Antarctica?
There's pyramids
I didn't see that.
in Antarctica.
No, really?
Okay, they look like mountains, but when they have an aerial view of them, and there are 3 pyramids lined up, and they even match the star systems. I swear to God, Orion.
Huh.
So yeah, but right now they're actually using like oil drills to dig into the ice in Antarctica to find out, like, say they get down, they can tell like which era, we were in, and what kind of organisms were alive in that area. And they're finding that there are things that are living, living organisms in like
in the water and stuff too.
No, yeah, in this like nothing you would think, or at first they thought for years that nobody would be able to survive in that environment, but they're finding organisms. So it's saying that like there could be life on any planet. It doesn't matter how
yeah.
cold it is. Things can, we all evolve.
Right. Well, I think we don't know. That's another thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, we don't know. We're not allowed to go to Antarctica. We're not allowed to go out of space. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, here's a neat
We're
thing.
not allowed to do all these things that we could
There
prove.
was another neat story too, where this woman who kept proving that she was another scientist who kept.
She was a Nazi scientist.
Maybe she one who disappeared.
She was a
on
good
her
scientist.
snowmobile.
I like the
Yep.
Nazi scientist.
She was trying to prove that the Earth was
hollow.
The Earth was hollow.
Hollow.
And yeah, she finally tried going at one point, and then the expedition didn't work out. It was too dangerous because of the weather. And then she ended up going again, and then just going solo and took a snowmobile. And then I guess her snowmobile was found years and years and years later. It was discovered under a bunch of snow. Somebody found it, but on it there was a note, and it was her snowmobile and her stuff.
What?
She was gone. She wasn't there. And she said, "I've been there. I've seen it. It exists," or something like that. In the note, that's all it says.
There was a note.
Yeah.
I thought that was
That's
really
neat.
cool. That was a really
That's
cool
neat.
story.
You know?
And these people that are coming out with these types of theories aren't just everyday normal people sitting at home on their TV all day. They're scientists and they have
Pretty
PhDs.
smart,
And
which is why it kind of
it makes
I don't
sense.
like Neil deGrasse Tyson anymore. Something about him is just too fishy, and that too in the way that he is just so rejecting to anything that anybody presents him of it an alternating idea or of an alternate idea to anything that anybody thinks. He doesn't entertain ideas.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to see Neil
because
deGrasse
the
Tyson
ideas he thinks
entertain
people are
an
trying
idea.
to say aren't worth entertaining, but
But what kind of mentality is that?
exactly, and that's
shitty
the whole
mentality.
thing. That's turning yourself into like someone that's religious.
Yeah,
and people say,
This
"Oh,
is the religion
atheism's
of
a
science,"
religion.
like I've been saying
But-
for years. That's why I don't
Yeah,
like the
people
science
automatically
community
assume
anymore.
someone's wrong because Neil deGrasse Tyson said in this one video, and that's how they got their information. No one wants to admit that that's how they get their information sometimes, just by watching a video on YouTube, saying that that they like this, on Facebook, and then they saw this picture that said this fact
And then
about
it becomes
science.
truth.
It becomes true in their head. They never looked it up. They never did the math or even tried to. They might have looked up something on Wikipedia, but that's as far as they went.
And
They
then
had the
pass it on to
confirmation
someone
bias was
else
already there.
as truth.
And I do want to apologize to everybody that is listening right now that I know we didn't really give you a good format to bite into when we started delving into this topic. But, maybe what you should do is give this your own little research, like look up those 200 facts and look up some other flat earth videos, and then come back and give what we're saying a listen. Yeah. And then you'll be able to bite into what we're talking about a lot better. But in some of the videos
topics.
Was that
you can start doing top teaching,
Yeah.
giving a little background information first.
Yeah. So basically what you're going to find if you start searching up these videos, just so you can get a basic understanding, is that there's people saying that you can visually see that the earth is actually flat just by looking at distances and measuring the curvature of the earth. Now the curvature has a drop off. Now if you look straight ahead, the earth is round, so at some point in time things are going to fall out of sight. Even though the earth is so big, you won't see it with our eyes. Our eyes can only pull in so much light from so much distance. We're a few mile radius that we can only visually see. But even magnifying, even using telescopes and zoom in cameras and things like that, there's distances that we should not be able to see. Like after a mile, it's an accumulative drop off is how it works.
8 inches at a mile.
So not per mile, it's an accumulative drop off. So
at a mile.
Yeah, so it's 8 inches at a mile, and then it's 8 inches times the mile, which would plus
It's
the curvature, because the
curvature squared. So like
curvature squared or something like that. I
is
had
it
the math
16 or is it
no,
24?
it's like 8 inches, and then it goes to like 14
24?
inches, and
Maybe
then it goes.
if Christian will
then it goes to like
post
20
some links on the YouTube.
and then
page.
yes, right. It's an accumulative
been a while
drop
since I
off. So
looked
it's
at
8
that.
inches, then it's like 24 inches, and then it's like 8 inches, and like it gets.
I can't remember it's like the. Is
But
it
there's-
pi r squared or something? It's not pi r squared for that.
I don't remember,
That's,
but look it up. Every video you see,
Just
is gonna
look
have
up
it
the
on
curvature of the Earth, and at the distance that it goes down every mile. And because it's curved like a sphere, the distance is squared each mile. So it starts 8, but then because of it, it's
because
I
the
can't remember
curvature
if
is
the 8 is
just
squared or something else, or the distance.
Well, anyway,
What
I don't
is
want to
she mocking?
confuse you guys. Every
Google
video you
I
watch.
have Googled it.
What's the thing?
Oh,
so
I'm
they
not
can,
Googling it
oh.
right now. I don't know
Well.
how much time we have.
Yeah.
But I
Every-
did find that quote and I wanted to
Oh,
definitely
okay.
read
Which one?
the one that I said completely wrong.
Oh, gee.
Buddha. It's believe nothing no matter where you read it or who has said it, not even if I said it,
Yeah.
unless it agrees with your own reason and your own common sense.
I like that.
And it's the truth, because I can't convince you, and Joe or anybody can't convince you one or the other. And you have to, if you're a scientist or a rational, skeptical thinker, you stop it once you just dismiss things. So until you say, well, no, I haven't looked that up, or if someone even says something to you, you could dismiss them, or you could say, well, I like that person.
I'm gonna
What
take a
would
look
make
at
them
it.
think that? And a real true scientist will say, like I had someone that I said, well, there's certain things in science that we're not told that is completely wrong and that I don't believe are true. And I could have told him what I said, but I didn't, because I wanted him to find it, because I can't convince anybody what's true or not. That is, like in that quote says, it's your own common sense and your own thinking. So I wanted him to ask the question. So if you hear something on here, what is the flat earth? You could say, well, the earth is sphere. So fuck, science proves it already. Have you proved it to yourself through science that the earth is sphere? So do start there. Why would someone think flat earth? Just look it up. Why would someone think this? Oh, they say you can't see this distance. So, well, could I
And then
see
don't
this
worry
distance?
about the math, because almost every video you watch is they're going to explain the math to
Right,
you, except
yeah.
for the ones that get it wrong.
But if you're
you'll
asking the questions,
understand
is what
that
I'm
out by
saying.
yourself.
The
If-
Marty Leeds video is really, really he made a lot of sense to me with it.
Yeah.
So go ahead, watch some flat Earth videos,
Ask
then
the
come back
questions.
and give this last half of the podcast a listen, and then you'll get a better bite into
Yeah.
what we were trying to say. I was trying to give you guys a quick format, but it never happened. So sorry about that. But next time, maybe we'll delve into it, and then we'll give you guys a better examples and understandings of what people are saying and what they're doing in the flat Earth community. But thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you guys listening. Please keep listening to the podcast. Post it, share it, let other people know about it, and then give us some hits, man. Maybe we can throw some advertising in here, then we can
Yeah.
get some sponsors, and then we could do more podcasts. That'd be nice, and get some more topics to talk about and put them out more frequently. But Aimee, why don't you give your goodbyes?
Goodbye.
Look closer to the
and have an open mind about everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Believe in yourself and not Buddha.
Yeah,
Right.
all that good
Mr.
stuff.
Vertigo.
Verdugo. Always, every day. Do everything you can to make yourself a better person, to learn more. I tell my sons every night who's going to wake up stronger and who's going to wake up smarter, and they say they are. And if you do that every day for yourself, you will do it, because it's of no choice of you if you're saying it's going to happen. So just keep learning, keep living, keep loving.
And be informed, not afraid. Thank you guys for tuning in. Tune in next time.
Adios.